Welcome to St. Augustine this evening, the Mike Davis Show, and boy, this could be our last one. Well, maybe not. We'll find out. We're going to test some things today on this show, so if you're here with us, you get to test it with us and see the results. So I got my ideas. I'm just curious to see what happens. It is August the 28th, Wednesday. We're having a great day. We have our normal Wednesday co-host team in. Amanda, producer Amanda's here. Amanda, welcome.
What up, everybody?
And Amanda is not in the booth. I did not take Davey's advice, and Amanda is allowed still to do the show.
Yeah, that was Davey's advice.
I'm not taking Davey's advice on that. Just not. Amanda, you're a well-respected female on the team, the only one on the 904 Now Network.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Did you hear that, Davey? Behave yourself next week. And Levi Moore is with us again, the youngest, well, one of the youngest guys on the show.
Let's go.
Youngest guy on this show.
On Wednesdays.
We got a spicy show today. Mike was amped up right before this, so y'all are in for a treat.
I was. Coffee and honey. I'm telling you what, it's got me.
It's the new thing, right? Coffee and honey. I love it.
I'm going to tell you a story about that during the show, too.
Yeah.
Which you'll probably all go, yeah, we never knew. Yes, that's right. You should have known. But I'm going to tell you the story anyway. So
looking forward to it.
It's a good story. All right, let's make some money first, though.
Cool.
Opening their doors in 2008, Brightway Insurance, the Casey Agency, has proudly stood by their customers through hurricanes, major floods, hail, and fires. Yes, we've had all of those here in St. Augustine since they opened. Through these events, the agency has become a much-needed insurance resource in times of trouble and hardship. Honesty and integrity are the pillars of their core values, says owner Ashley Casey. They pride themselves on being insurance experts while developing strategies that help their clients meet their insurance needs. And they truly enjoy the relationships they've forged. Their office is amazing. Their staff's great. They insured this show. Thank you, Brightway Insurance. Ashley Casey, Brightway Insurance, the Casey Agency.
Awesome. The team at South State Bank is a group of bankers that you can count on. Their approach to building long-term relationships with their customers is the best in the business. If you are looking for a banking relationship that you can depend on, check out South State Bank. They've got 3 locations to serve you in St. Augustine: State Road 312, State Road 16, or the beach. You can also visit them on their website, southstatebank.com. They are a member FDIC. Bozard Ford Lincoln in St. Augustine. Their goal is to make sure your time and experience buying a car is stress-free, fun, and enjoyable. Bozard is a family-owned Ford dealership that's been in business since 1949. Bozard Ford has been the recipient of numerous dealer awards, including being ranked #1 automotive dealership in the nation by Dealer Rater. Bozard Ford has also won back-to-back President's Awards, which is the highest honor given by Ford Motor Company. Check them out today online at bozardford.com or head on down there, have dinner with Bo and Letty at Ford's Garage, and have a Jiffy Burger. It's Mike's favorite.
My favorite. Actually, we have a story about that somewhere in all the stuff. It's very interesting. Pete and the 904 Now guys got screwed in the story. I can tell you that much right now. They did. However, it's probably just as well because it was a story about national burger flavors.
Oh, no.
And if they'd only mentioned Pete in the 904 Now, Lord only knows how many tourists would have come here and moved here. So I'm really kind of glad they didn't.
Self-protect.
It's self-protection that they mentioned somebody else somewhere far, far away. So, yeah, very happy about that. All right. Moultrie Creek Diner and Anastasia Diner. These neighborhood diners are more than just a place to eat. They are where hospitality blooms and friends gather. Bring your own friends or make new ones. The coffee is always hot, the smiles are genuine, and the food tastes like home. Every meal is a chance to make memories, share stories, and create bonds that last a lifetime. It's not just about the food on the plate, but the community that comes together at the table. Come see us at Moultrie Creek Diner or Anastasia Diner. Tell them Andy sent you. And all the great staff. I have no idea what Cheryl is preparing, but it's Labor Day weekend. Usually there's all kinds of effigies of Andy at the Anastasia Diner. So this should be good. I've not been in there in a couple of weeks, so Cheryl's had time to decorate and get ready. So,
hey,
yeah.
Vicki Oaks sent me an update. There are a lot of amendments on the ballot in November, and so she sent me an amendment guide. I'm going to drop it in the comments. So check out that amendment guide so you know how to vote on all of those amendments come November.
I actually printed the guide out, and it's not an official recommendation from Vicki. It was information she sent us, so it's nothing official from her. It's just... And
she passed it along from the James Madison organization.
And from what I saw, there's pros and cons with each one, which is, I really kind of like that because I'd rather be, well-roundly informed rather than opinionated. So, yes. Yeah. All right. Whew. Okay, so we have a sexist story of the day, which we're going to keep. We're going to hold on to that. And on the calendar today, there is Music and Art by the Sea. So if you want to go see Music and Art by the Sea, you know where that is, by the sea at the pier.
There's a lot of sea in St. Augustine.
There's a lot of sea to see in St. Augustine. There is, especially now that most of the beach renourishment is done. So if you want to see a pier with no water at the end of it, now is the time to go.
The water's back after the last hurricane, isn't it?
No, they put
pulled
more
up.
dirt.
Oh,
They just moved the bulldozer from 4th Street back to the pier, filled it in. We're done again.
The hurricane was like, just the tip. And they were like, no.
I'm so glad
This
Davey's
is
not
like-
here today.
this is like the 4th time in my lifetime they've done this. And I'm just curious as to how long we're going to keep fighting nature.
It's going to be every about 6 to 8 years.
Do you think it would wash away the rest of the beach down towards A Street, or would it just stop right there?
No, there's a way to fix it. What you do is you close up the inlet that they created in the 1940s or 50s,
Mm-hmm.
which increased the size.
Which
of,
inlet is that?
St. Augustine Inlet. That's not the original inlet.
The one where Volano is?
That's not the original inlet.
Oh, see, I didn't know this.
So the I'm going to teach you something today, young
I'm
man.
ready. I love
Pay
history.
attention to history. So the original inlet is all the way at the end of what used to be Salt Run.
Okay.
Most of that end of Salt Run, the southern end, is now filled in. But the original inlet was all the way down there, and
Okay.
you sailed up Salt Run. The reason the fort was put where it was not so that it was facing the inlet. It was so that all those ships that came up Salt Run
Funneled in.
couldn't really fire on the fort, but the fort could fire on them.
Makes sense.
So it was a great strategic location for the fort. Obviously, by the time the 1940s roll around, it was obsolete. And then the Army Corps of Engineers came in and said, we can help your beach erosion by putting in this inlet. And then what all the inlets did is they put rock barriers on either side. So that stopped the natural flow of sand. Typically, it accumulated sand on the northern end. In our case, it accumulated sand on the southern end. If you go back and look at pictures of the northern end of Anastasia Island, the tip of Anastasia Island, it was very small. So all of that has changed. And the last time we had a major storm, the northeastern 1984, at Thanksgiving, it opened up the inlet again. And a couple of the hurricanes have opened it up, but it's usually only been there for a day or two and then it's gone. So the natural flow is there, but we as humans have stymied it. And since the beach erosion since then has been crazy. If you go back and look, the pier was incredibly long, the original pier, not the one that we have rebuilt and didn't go out as far as it was supposed to go. But you had to get 100 yards out on the beach before you could get under the pier. There was that much sand. And so it's all gone. And if you look at the depth of St. Augustine Beach, all that's changed since the new inlet was there.
Yeah.
And that is a piece of St. Augustine history. So
Learn something new every day.
every day
Every
was
day.
not originally there. I think part of the flooding we deal with on Anastasia Island today is because of that. Because one, you have all these infill projects, all the lots that used to be vacant are now have been built on.
Mhm.
But the other is Salt Run doesn't carry as much water as it used to. Right?
Yeah.
They're constantly talking about having to dredge Salt Run because it's slowly filling in because we moved the inlet. So doesn't
it's
flush out anymore
it's
like it
not
used to.
because of global warming, people. It's because we made a man-made inlet.
Florida has been shrinking for hundreds of thousands of millions of years. It was huge, and there's a picture of it in the Florida State Capitol. I've got it on my phone somewhere. But if you look at Florida and how much it shrunk more as the ice ages were going away, right, than it has the last few years. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're having some sea level rise. I'm sure one day we'll have sea level fall, and
Yeah.
it's all part of the Earth just changing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has darn little to do with the type of engine that you drive.
Yeah.
Darn little.
Yeah,
I would agree.
It's kind of hilariously egomaniacal that we believe as a single species that we can throw off the homeostasis of the entire planet.
The guy who said it best, if you look up George Carlin, Save the Whales, Save the Bees, Save
Yeah.
the Trees, if you watch that segment of George Carlin, he says it better than anybody else. The sheer arrogance that we have, that the Earth cares about us and that the Earth is worried about us is incredibly funny. So the Earth just doesn't care.
Yeah.
He actually says in there, maybe the earth needed plastics and couldn't figure out how to make plastics, so it allowed humans to live long enough to make plastics. And once the earth has enough plastics, it'll get rid of us.
Yeah.
Interesting take.
He's a brilliant guy. He was really, really smart. Okay. We talked a few weeks ago about different energy drinks and what's in energy drinks.
Yes.
Right. And I want to say psychocobalamin. Did I say that correctly?
Cyanobalamin.
Cyanocobalamin.
Cobalamin. Thank you. So we kind of have been talked about that. I switched out of the energy drink that I have been drinking for years and went to coffee in the afternoon about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And so my watch, if you have a Garmin watch, it tracks what it refers to as your body battery. And it takes all of your heart rate and your biorhythms and all the stuff that it can take from your pulse and different things. And it tells you how you feel, right? From 0 to 100.
Yep.
But it never goes below 5 because it doesn't want you to feel like you're dead. So 5 is the bottom. It's the floor that it will go to. So for major months this year, I didn't see 100. I could take my watch off, leave it off for a day or two, and it get up to like 85, but that's it, right? It wouldn't. As soon as I put it back on, it kind of go back down. So for the last 3-4 months, I would say I'd average somewhere 50 to 5 to 50, day after day, regardless of physical activity, regardless of sleep, regardless of how much I drank. So about 3 weeks ago, I just said, you know what? I'm going to try the coffee and the honey in the afternoon. I'm just going to give it a shot. We're going to see what happens. And surprisingly, not drinking the energy drink. And the energy drink I drank was one from V8.
Yeah.
Right. But it still has all that stuff in it.
Yeah.
Just had a serving of fruits and vegetables, which I now have to get somewhere else. But all of a sudden, according to my watch, I feel better.
Yep.
Now, I don't notice that I feel better, but according to my watch, all my metrics are now trending to where, and it's the only significant change I can tell you I've made in the last 3 weeks. It has been absolutely unreal to watch the watch just go, no, you feel better now. And so is it that? Is it not that? I don't know. I'm one person. It's an anecdotal story, but I figured I would share it with you guys.
As a biased listener to that story.
Yes.
I hate fruits and vegetables. I always have. What I just heard was that when you eliminated fruits and vegetables from your caffeine hit, you felt better, and you have a neutral arbiter telling you felt better. Fruits and vegetables are the devil. That's what I say.
You don't like fruit?
I hate fruit.
Is there a reason?
I have, my grandmother also had this. I have like a texture aversion to a lot of plants.
Okay.
And a lot of seafood. And so I almost universally avoid plant matter and seafood in my diet wherever I can.
Well, the number one thing
we might have found one of the key factors to my health journey, but just saying.
The number one thing people need to realize when it comes to this kind of stuff, when we're talking about health, is everyone is biologically different. Mm-hmm. Your body processes food differently. Yeah. Everyone is unique to themselves. Mm-hmm. And so the number one thing you can do is listen to your body. Mm. For example, my girlfriend, she doesn't feel good when she eats a lot of red meat. Mm. Me, on the other hand, I could eat steak every day, 3 times a day, and I actually feel better when I do that. Now, it's not, my taste buds don't like it that much, but I personally, my body feels better. Yeah. But yeah, so listen to your body, and listen to your Garmin watch, apparently. You don't feel better? Do you feel better?
I don't, I never really, I'm one of these guys that's just a happy person.
Yeah.
Like I wake up in the morning and I'm happy. So if I don't drink at night and I wake up, I'm happy. If I have a couple of drinks and wake up the next day, I'm happy.
Right.
The only times I'm not happy is when I wake up and my sinuses are just crushing me.
Yeah.
Right. I've had sinus problems due to allergies and all the pollen that we live with here in Florida. And it absolutely sometimes just crushes me. So there's times I'll wake up and Darcy's like, how do you feel this morning? I said, well, I feel like I wish I'd had like 8 drinks last night because that's exactly how I feel this morning. And I didn't have any fun last night. So that's about the worst, but I always kind of feel really pretty good. I don't notice a huge difference in all of that, but it's interesting that whatever the biometrics and the algorithm is in the watch are telling me there's a difference. So that's the only kind of interesting thing for me. Do I trust the algorithm? No, but
it's kind of the theme of the day.
But I mean, but at the same time, I just kind of feel like it's just one of those things. I've noticed a difference. I do think I'm sleeping a little bit better, right? Because I'm taking that out of my system that I was usually putting in it every day about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Now it's no longer there when I go to bed at 9 o'clock at night. So it's given my body more time to kind of adjust to that.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of other things in there too. Like it's probably a combination of multiple things in it. Yeah. It's just coffee and honey is more natural.
Yes.
Simple as that. Closer to the source.
And I believe all that, right? So it's just black coffee and that. So yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. So I'm kind of curious to see what that does over time, and just is it a trend that's a short-term trend or a long-term trend? We'll kind of find out.
So it maintained the more positive readings, even though you traveled to the West Coast and came back.
The day I traveled on the plane, it was like my most calm day. And then Friday out in LA, walking around and doing
like a baby, the white noise and the vibration.
My body was like, oh, we love it out here, dude. This is like the coolest place ever, man. So it was very interesting for me to be in LA and look at like the stress levels and stuff that the watch is telling me in the algorithm. It's like, dude, this is it for you, man. You like found the spot. And so it was very, very interesting. So yes. Yeah. So I thought I would share that kind of with you. You guys want to do, we have Coworker Lost. Mm-hmm. We have Let's Get in Trouble. And we have Sexism in the Weather. Where you guys want to go?
I think we should start with Coworker Lost.
Coworker Lost. Okay. I kind of want to do this story tomorrow, but we have so many great questions for trivia tomorrow. Yeah. So I want to give you the story. This is out of Colorado. So let me set the stage for you, according to this story on Fox News, right? That an office retreat was held in Colorado. Now it's Colorado. You got to be cool. We're going to go on a hike to the top of a mountain.
Of course.
One guy got left behind at the summit.
Left behind?
Left behind at the summit. Okay. So it says here he was part of a group of 15 coworkers set off to the summit of Mount Shavano. On Friday, the Caffey County Search and Rescue Cell said, it's never good when the second paragraph says the Caffey County Search and Rescue.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's a bad omen, right? Yeah. If you're reading a book and that's in the second paragraph, you know the next thing that's bad. So in what might cause some awkward encounters at the office in the coming days and weeks, one member of the party was left to complete his final summit push alone. The male hiker, who was wearing all black, reached the summit at 11:30 a.m. and became disoriented and began his descent. He found that belongings left in the boulder field to mark the path for descent had been picked up by the previous group as they hiked down. Oh. So there's right here, I get to this of you're wearing all black on a hike. Probably not. I've been on a lot of hikes. I've never gone all black. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if fashion, that was a thing, Amanda. I don't know if it was like on Instagram. All black on a hike is not what I'm wearing.
Once you go all black on a hike, you never go back.
I heard you never come back.
Touche.
All black on a hike ever?
No, never.
Okay, never. See, I think you need some light clothes on a hike because you might need to be found later. Right?
Well, I just don't want the sun to bake me. So I try and wear lighter clothes just for that reason.
Yes.
I've already got dark hair, so my head already gets hot. So I try and wear a light colored hat, and I just don't want to be scorching in dark clothes.
No. So comes back down, all this stuff's gone. So you have to wonder, people are like, he can't carry all this stuff himself.
They're so ego conscious.
Right? We can't leave this. We packed it in. We got to pack it out.
Look at the litter.
Or do you think one of the 15 said, we may never see him again if we take this?
Was this guy in a more senior position, and were all the rest of the coworkers looking for a promotion?
That's a good point.
Question.
That's a great point. I looked at it the other way, is like he was the most annoying newbie.
That's a good point as well.
HR will not fire this guy, but we have a chance here. We can get rid of him.
It's not murder if you just leave it up to God.
So did they not find him? Did they find his body? What's going on? You've left me on a cliffhanger here.
Right. I've learned this art from Pete Melfi, right? You just got to elongate this story, and Pete has taught me well. So as he tried to descend on his own, the hiker found himself in the steep boulder and screen field of the northeast slope towards the Shavano Lake. Concerned for himself, he sent a pin drop, which tells me he's a younger guy, because there's nobody my age sending a pin drop.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Right? I'm calling you going, Levi, I'm near a giant boulder. Right? And then if I know where I'm at and I'm good, I'm like, I'm on the northwest side of the mountain and I'm facing this and I can see this, and this is where you need to come get me.
The moss is growing.
Him sending a pin drop indicates that he knew his location.
He knew it well. He knew how to send a pin drop, which indicates his age to me.
Yeah.
Right? He's a younger worker. And he sent it to the coworkers who were descending.
Who left him?
Who left him. Which tells me he was smart enough to set up the lawsuit. I've been left here. I have a chance at a lawsuit. And I'm gonna get evidence in texting. All right. So he sends the pin drop. These coworkers informed him his route was wrong and to climb back up the slope to regain the trail. So apparently 15 of the coworkers look at each other and go, just tell the dummy to get back on the trail and he'll get down here. None of them decided, let's go back up and get him. Not two people looked at and say, the rest of you guys go on. Amanda and Levi and I are going to go get Knucklehead and go bring him back down the mountain. Nobody thought that, right? Which again tells me they'd had enough. Whatever enough was, they'd had enough of it. So that's just
And I love that the advice was you turn the wrong direction, go back up the mountain and come back another direction.
Yes.
Like he's probably tired at this point.
Now at 11:30, this team building exercise was done because they were coming back down. He had to go to the summit, right?
Oh my word.
As the man neared the trail around 3:50 p.m., he sent another pin drop and text to his group. Most of which I think were probably home by this point.
Why couldn't he use the map to get himself out?
Yeah, I don't understand
Why is he just dropping pins and not like, there's the car, there's me? What is going on?
I don't know. I mean, at the end of this story, I was going to tell you, this is a story that's not over. Like there's stories that I read after years of reading news and I go, this one's not over. So this is going to be fun as the days kind of roll out.
Okay.
Because there's going to be follow-up stories. When that happens, when a story doesn't end, they go, this story has legs. Mm-hmm. This story has really long legs. I think this one's going to go on for years in court.
This is the guy that is the reason why there are certain ridiculous signs in state parks and warning labels on products. Yes. That's all I'm saying.
I wonder if the trail said, don't leave alone for bears. I wonder if there were any bear signs out there. Anyway, shortly after sending the message, a strong storm pummeled the area with freezing rain and high winds. The storm...
He's not all black anymore.
The storm disoriented the man further and cut off his cell service.
I bet
it did.
How does he have a battery left?
Now, again, you're the guys down on the ground, right? And you go, it's 3:50. He sent us another pin. It looks like there's a storm coming. Do you think we ought to run back up to the summit, grab him, and bring him back down? And nobody said, I think we should go back.
Or call search and rescue. There's like multiple steps that could have been taken to ensure his safety.
Yes. Or have left food wrapped around his neck for wild animals.
Basically what they did.
So search and rescue received the call about the overdue hiker at 9 p.m.
What?
I don't know if I want to, if I'm the guy on the mountain, I don't think I want to work with these people. Right? I don't.
This is 10 hours after he was technically lost.
Technically lost. Now they call search and rescue.
Holy cow.
You think they said, okay, guys, we've lost plausible deniability if we don't call by 9 p.m. Like, we could be found guilty of a whole bunch of other things.
This is interesting.
Yeah. So I guess why I think
we're leaving the realm of we're leaving it up to God at this point. We're leaving that realm.
For sure.
Maybe we shouldn't have left it up to God. Responding with 2 hasty teams and a drone pilot. Crews worked throughout the night, but high winds and freezing rain prevented them from reaching the summit.
Imagine what it's like to be on the summit.
So I don't know how bad the storm was, right? But every search and rescue show I've ever watched, especially the ones with Robert Conrad. Yeah, Robert Conrad had a search and rescue show. Mm-hmm. He was in Wild Wild West and Black Sheep Squadron and all the. He was like the tough guy that had the battery on his shoulder, knocked the battery off, right? He would have gotten up there. Baywatch would have gotten up there. It must have been really bad for this crew not.
The Mystery Machine crew would have gotten up there.
Scooby-Doo would have gotten up there. Lassie would have gotten up there. I'm telling you, Lassie.
Bear Grylls.
Yes.
Bear Grylls.
Well,
after drinking his own pee, he would have gotten up there.
Bear Grylls.
After they woke him up in the hotel and told him he had to go back on the mountain.
Touche.
He couldn't have made it. All right, so they're searching through the night. They can't find him. They got a drone. I'm like, is this like an infrared drone? And if it's really windy, how does a drone fly in the wind? I mean, there's so many questions about the rescue operation as well, right? Oh gosh. The man who was wearing all black became disoriented. During descent was caught in a strong storm. Following the following morning, the man regained enough cell service to call 911 for help.
I'm glad he had batteries left. No
Why
water.
did he call 911 at like
to begin with?
At dark?
Why are we dropping pins to people that obviously hate you?
He was found above the North Fork drainage in a gully below Esprit Point. Means nothing to me because I'm not from there, but it is a great description of where his coworkers might have found him.
Good thing it wasn't a gully washer.
Yes. Good thing he wasn't caught in a mudslide. An avalanche. The man told rescuers he'd become disoriented and fell at least 20 times during his attempt to descend alone. Alone, coworkers. Do you hear me? Alone. He said that after his last fall, he was unable to get up.
He's clearly not working with the Marines. Like, that is not his employer.
No. I'm going to bet before he went to work at this company, he wasn't in the armed services.
I'm going to guess that too.
Well, the armed services before.
Not an Eagle Scout.
The armed services before 2021 anyway.
None of these people were Eagle Scouts.
No.
Like, this breaks all of the wilderness rules.
Yes. The rescue crew said the hiker was phenomenally lucky to have regained cell service when he did and still have enough consciousness and wherewithal to call 911. Could have dropped a pin to him.
We're like 24 hours past consciousness.
Yes, I know. Though he was located in a tertiary search area. I guess that means not the original search area.
It's the third.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm. Tertiary is another word for third.
I'm so glad that we have smart people on
primary,
this
secondary, tertiary.
Okay. It would have been some time before teams made it to that location on their own. It would have been some time before.
It's not.
I'm the boomer. Oh yeah, here we go.
So I can show you exactly what happens. My computer goes out. My computer goes out.
Yeah.
And then it unmutes itself once it's dark. So I can't keep our stream up like this, but I pulled it up so I could reply to Barbara Jean. Yeah. And now I'm closing it out so that it won't happen again. I was so caught up in your story, my computer went to sleep.
Well, I'm glad you didn't. Thank goodness for that. But anyway, when I saw the story, I was like, there's so much to work with in this story.
There is.
The coworkers, the guy wearing all black, the fact that he spent the night overnight, right? The lawsuit that I know is coming. I mean, I'm waiting for the story about 2 months from now. Colorado man files lawsuit for being left on office retreat he was forced to go on, right? I can see the headline already.
Bobby asks if his Crocs stayed on after that third fall.
I think they were Birkenstocks.
So I saw a story probably about 10 years ago where 911 Facebook pages were like 911 responders were putting on Facebook pages, please do not text 911. Please do not private message us on social media. You will not get an emergency response if you do this. You need to dial 911 and have a phone call. We do not have a text service. And I was like, what kind of wackadoo people are sitting there sending text messages to 911? If I'm in an emergency, I want to make sure someone gets that message. I'm talking to someone. I want to hear a voice, right? So this is that dude. This is why they had to put that message out, because he did everything that he could have done. He did it wrong. Like, you don't send it to the people that left you. You send it to the emergency responders first. Call them. Voice to voice.
And these people get to vote.
Oh, they all do.
They get to vote.
Wow. Even if they were convicted of a felony of leaving him, some people would say they should still vote. Just saying. I'm just saying.
Those who aggressively prosecuted.
The fact that they would all leave and not think, like, the number one rule is like, don't leave someone by themselves on a hike. It's like rule number one of safety.
Even if we give them grace of they're all indoor cats, they don't know that, he'll be fine because they just have this normalcy bias of everyone's just fine and the world is really just Disney World and there aren't any actual dangers. Even if we give them that grace of he'll be fine, the second he sends that first I'm lost pin, you send back people to help him.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, you don't just go back up, come back down. Clearly, he doesn't know which way to come down. You don't leave him.
So there's an exception to every rule, and you just set out a rule, right? If I'm standing in the parking lot, and the guy that's lost is named John Rambo, I'm not going back up for him. He'll be fine. This definitely was not John Rambo.
You're not a Marine either.
No, this was Urkel. They left Urkel on the side of a mountain.
He's a beloved TV character.
Urkel would do exactly this. They left Urkel on the side of a mountain.
I wonder if Urkel quotes taken out of context sound like our vice president.
I don't know. Maybe that might be a good one to check. But I'm with you. I don't want to be around people who like leave a guy behind. Right. I mean, I've gone on a lot of trips all over the place. And the rule is there's always two people.
Yes.
You never let somebody go by themselves.
Correct.
We had a new person on the group one time, and, we all get back together to go surfing. And they're like, what'd you do today? I got in a car and I just drove around looking around. Like, well, wait a minute. You were in the car by yourself. Yeah. You didn't tell anybody you were leaving. So none of us knew. And then secondly, you left whoever was back in the room by themselves. So there's two of you. And we had to have this big meeting of, hey, I know we're all adults and we're all men in our 50s, but this shit doesn't happen on this trip, right? There's always two of us wherever we go. You're always looking out after everybody. You don't do that stuff. That's not the way it works. I mean, I stood on the beach one night, 30 minutes after dark, waiting for some guy to come in to make sure he came in.
Right.
Right. I mean, I'm standing, everyone else is having a beer at the pool. And that was my buddy to watch out there. And I'm like, I'm standing here on the beach until he comes. He'll eventually catch a wave. Yeah, dark was 20 minutes ago, but he'll eventually get in here. So that's the way you do that. I mean, that's how you just don't leave somebody behind. So for me, I was kind of like, I don't want to work with those people. I don't want to be around those people. Yeah.
And starting next week, Mike is going to be selling a work retreat safety course.
Yes, I am. And to see if it works, we're going to leave Amanda on the mountain. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to leave Davy in a swamp.
I am the only girl, so leave me.
No, let's leave Davy in the swamp. I still want to see Davy fight alligators.
No, we can leave me and we can decide whether it is more dangerous to encounter a man or a bear in the woods.
I got no comment on that. I'm leaving that one alone. I don't want Louis mad at me. I'm just leaving that alone.
You've heard that, right? There's this man on the street thing where people were asking women whether they'd rather encounter a man or a bear in the woods. And women were repeatedly saying they would rather encounter a bear in the woods.
Well, what kind of bear? That's an important.
They weren't even asking follow-ups. They were just saying, oh, for sure, a bear. It's like, okay, well, you live in a city and you've never encountered a bear.
Yeah,
you have
for sure.
no idea what a bear can do.
A black bear would be okay to encounter in the woods. They're kind of very docile. But like a polar bear, it's like the most aggressive land species there is.
Yeah, they kill you for fun.
Yeah, exactly. So and same with grizzlies too. Grizzlies are very, very scary.
Yeah, so that was when I first heard that. I was like, okay, 0 people asked that follow-up question, which is a very important follow-up question. They didn't ask the age of the bear. They didn't ask the species of the bear. They were just blanketly, oh, the bear will be, because they think bears are Baloo. They're stupid indoor cats that live in cities. I'm an indoor cat, but I know well enough that I would rather encounter a human than a bear.
So have you noticed the rebranding of what is now known as a brown bear?
Grizzlies?
Yes. Grizzlies, I don't know who does their marketing. Really? I don't know how the grizzly bears all got together and said, grizzly it just sounds too ferocious. Can we go with brown bear?
Yeah.
And so everywhere I read a story now, it's brown bear attacks man. And what a brown bear is a dead young grizzly bear. Yeah. They were called grizzlies for a reason, you city dwelling people that want to rename stuff. A brown bear does not, I don't want to hear, it was a brown teddy bear. I don't feel fear. I don't feel the need to have a gun with me. I don't feel like, oh yeah, we should probably have, bear spray. It's just a brown bear. If you tell me it's a grizzly bear, I know my rear end might get eaten. And I am taking all of those other things with me.
Well, they're doing the same thing with killer whales and orcas. They're trying to stop people from calling them killer whales. They're trying to get them to only refer to them as orcas. But again, they will torture you for fun because your reactions are funny. That's just them. I love them. I would absolutely work with them if I had the opportunity. They'll still kill you for fun.
I'm fascinated by wild orcas.
Yeah.
So
they're fascinating.
Yeah, they are.
So what you're saying is they'd kill you for fun. So did they remind you of packs of women? Just asking.
They don't kill you for fun. They kill you for other reasons. Roving packs of women.
Oh,
Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Sisterhood of the Traveling Orcas. No, I don't want to work with these people. I would not, if I knew that person was part of the group that had that little skills to get up to I don't think I would have made the mountain climbing exercise the mountain unless I was trying to prove a point and lose a team member.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, somewhere they sat around the cooler and said, let's see if the guy that wears all black can make it to the top of the mountain.
Maybe he was the one that booked it and they were all just really angry that they had to.
Now that is that is a very logical possibility, and that is brilliant on your part.
Yeah. They're like, you know what? This was John's idea.
Yes.
Yeah, John can figure it out. It's his dang idea.
We had a vote. It was 14-1 not to do this, and John made us go. Screw John. He can stay up on the mountain.
Yep.
Now it all makes sense. You guys have made the nonsensical make sense to me. I love it. So it's awesome.
Well, I'm looking forward to the future of this story, the legs of the story.
I'm telling you, the story's going to have legs. There's going to be more stories.
Do we have the dude's name so we can search it?
No, they left
redacted
the rescuee out of the story. The rescuers did not name the rescuee.
There's got to be something on social media.
I'll let you search and find. You can search. But before you do that, we got to talk about sexism in the weather.
Okay.
All right. You just shrugged it off as though there is none.
No, I didn't. I laughed.
Oh, so like sexism is everywhere?
It's definitely in the weather.
Yes and no.
So in the 1970s, feminists fought to end naming hurricanes after just women.
Okay.
So young man born after the 1970s, you should just celebrate that as somebody who was not born before the 70s. All hurricanes were named after women. So they decide we got to have men's names too. We can't just have women's names because it's sexist to have all these hurricanes named after women. So it's brought to my attention by my daughter that she says, you know, Dad, there's all these studies that men don't treat hurricanes named after women with the same respect as hurricanes named after men. And I'm like,
what?
Okay, I'll research that and it'll be a topic on the show, right? I said, this is kind of interesting. So I go research and I find that feminists did not want that. So in the 1980s, 1979, I think, was maybe the first year that they had hurricanes named after men, and they alternate. It's a female name, male name, female name, male name. And they change it. One year the men started A's and next year the women started A's, right?
Okay.
So the very first hurricane named after a man was Hurricane David. You guys want to guess what island chain it went for first?
The Caribbean?
Yes. What islands in the Caribbean?
Bahamas?
No, you're so close. The Virgin Islands.
Ah.
David went through the Virgin. That's where David went first.
King David.
Yes.
A hurricane after God's own heart.
Yes. So, and now that we have them named after men and women for 30 years, 40 years, right? Okay. Now we're being told, well, men don't pay attention to hurricanes that are named after women. And I'm like, a hurricane is a hurricane, right? Of all the natural disasters, it's the only one that you get warning for.
Yeah.
Earthquake, tornado, flash flood, tsunami,
avalanche,
fires, avalanche, volcano. None of that do you get a warning for.
Yep.
Hurricanes, they tell you weeks out there could be one coming. 7 days from now, there might be one here. 4 days from now, it's expected to be here with this much wind. They give you all this. If you stay, you're an idiot. It's the only natural disaster you can get in a car and drive away from, right? Yeah. So for me, I've always taken them seriously. That's just me. Now, I also know there's always people who don't care whether it's a male name or a female name. They're staying.
So I think you're a little bit like, what was Thor's dad? Odin?
Yes.
I think you're a little bit like Odin, because anytime you're out of town, that's when a freaking hurricane comes, and I have to deal with rescheduling the show or doing the show during a hurricane.
Yes.
So I think once you leave Florida, then your protective bubble leaves with you, and we're hit by a hurricane. Because it's never when you're here. It's always when you're out of town.
Lately, that's true. Lately, that is true. I'll give you that.
You don't even have to evacuate.
2022, I was on a business trip to Park City. Wake up in the morning and I'm watching the news feed, and I can see the video from the Teeny Martini.
Yep.
I can see the video
They
from what
suspended
used
that.
to be the A1AO Works and the Surf Station feed, all on news channels going, yeah, that's my home.
Yeah.
That's what I got to deal with. And I'm in the meeting and people are calling me about wind damage or rain damage. And from Park City, I'm organizing people to get to their house the next day and figuring all this stuff out. But yes, I agree with you. I didn't know in advance of that one, but it didn't come back either. So, I kind of disagree a little bit though, right? I think, mature men have had women mad at them. And we really don't want women mad at us. And if there's like a choice of, hey, you can drive to that place and have women mad at you, or you can drive somewhere else, we're mostly going to drive somewhere else. I don't think we're going to drive somewhere where women are mad at us. Most of us don't really want to deal with that kind of pain and suffering. Young man, would you like to add to this?
I'm not adding anything to this conversation.
Your girlfriend's watching.
She watches sometimes. She saw the last week's clip.
Just to be safe.
So this whole conversation reminds me of the scene in Armageddon when the guy that discovers the asteroid, when he says he wants to name it. Do you remember what he says?
No. Oh, I wanted to, say it. I do remember, but it's your joke. You go. He says, I want to name her Dottie after my wife. And the wife gets this sweet look on her face. And then he finishes his thought. And it's, she's a vicious, life-sucking bitch from which there's no escape. Yes. I did remember. And I didn't
So
want
I
to steal from
disagree because I think that's fair.
I never thought about the amount of time it takes to think about something like this. Is it sexist or not sexist to leave or not leave? I'm like, apparently you guys have never had to deal with preparing for a hurricane, evacuating from a hurricane, coming back and dealing with the consequences of it and cleaning it up. Because if you did, no one ignores that that's got a brain.
If you're questioning this, then it just shows me that you're incredibly privileged. You don't have to worry about where your next meal is coming from. You don't have to worry about paying bills. Or you're a researcher that's desperate to be able to earn a grant, and you know that studying whether or not something is sexist will pay your bills. So it's one of those two options. You're either desperate for a grant, or you're an incredibly privileged person that can sit there in your posh life and worry if people respond to hurricanes in a sexist way. It's ridiculous.
A hurricane's a hurricane, right? There used to be a, Rush Limbaugh told this joke years and years ago, right? It was, God called down and told the world, it's going to be over in 24 hours. So all of these news organizations run these headlines, right? Christian Science Monitor at the time, which was the Christian magazine, right? God is real. Proof, right? I mean, and then you have all these, the Weather Channel, no weather after tomorrow, right? There's all these different headlines that it kind of went through from different perspectives. It gets to the New York Times. The headline is the New York Times, world set to end tomorrow. Women and children affected the most.
Yes.
What are we talking about? I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. I'm gonna be honest with you guys.
We're talking about bias in the media.
Well, what are you talking about? The God called down, the world's gonna end tomorrow?
It's a joke.
Oh, I thought this was like a real event.
No, it's a joke.
I was like,
okay.
was I alive when this happened? When did this happen? Are we talking about 2012? What are we talking about here?
No, it was an old joke that no matter what happened, the news media would skew it to whatever their perspective was at the time. So you have hurricanes, and so this is a story where it's now skewed to there's sexism everywhere, and it's even in how people react.
Floridians only care how strong it is. They don't care what the name is. The only reason we remember the names, or the only time we remember the name, is if we were personally affected by the name.
100%.
I was very affected by Hurricane Opal. We had 2 to 3 weeks of disruption to traffic flows, and it was insanity, and it happened right around my brother and my birthdays. And so there was a ton of disruption. So I remember that hurricane. People on this side of the state don't remember it because it didn't affect this side of the state.
It didn't until you mentioned the name.
Yeah. And so Hurricane Opal, because that was the other irony, is that Opal is the birthstone. It hit in October, and it was Hurricane Opal.
Was it your birthday when it hit too?
It was right before my brother's 16th birthday. So we evacuated, and my mom didn't bring his paperwork, and he was really mad that we couldn't get his driver's license or his permit. I can't remember. It must have been his permit. He was delayed getting his permit because there was so much destruction. We couldn't get it. And it was a whole thing. And he didn't have his birthday presents either. It was a whole thing.
But we had the same thing in St. Johns County when Matthew hit. Mm-hmm. So Matthew hits, and the island and Crescent Beach and Anastasia Island and some of the city are devastated. Mm-hmm. But you have people in the northwest part of the county that are screaming at the school board, we want to go back to school. We don't have any problems up here, and our kids need to get back in school. You couldn't drive through the neighborhoods on the island.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, hey, bring your kids down here and let's help people clean up, because their entire lives were on their front yard.
Yeah.
Matthew was horrible.
Yeah.
I remember
that was
one
Opal
vividly.
for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we were in a really safe part of the county for Matthew. And so we were in a blessed position at that point that we were able to get food donations and buy food ourselves and distribute it to people in Davis Shores, because we didn't even lose power. And so we were in a very privileged position that we could help feed the people and offer help where we could for people during Matthew. But like, my husband's very affected by Hurricane Andrew. And so Hurricane Andrew, I remember it being a thing, but it didn't affect us. And so I didn't remember it as being a strong storm, but he didn't remember Opal. So it's like, it's just what affects you. Yes. Matthew was terrible for the island here. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even that strong of a storm, but it was terrible.
It was the flooding.
Yeah.
The flooding was really bad.
And we never had flooded since the 1960s. Then 11 months later, Irma rolls along and says, hey, let's double down on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me double down on this. You guys just cleaned up. Some of you people just moved into your home. We're not done with you.
I just got done with all my drywall.
Yeah.
And then Irma rolls in, does the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you move from that house?
I did.
Yes.
The owner actually tried to sell it to me. I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't want this house.
Did you say give to me? Because I'm going to need money to rent. Yes. All right. So no, I think all of that. I think the whole story was kind of silly.
Yeah.
Because I think hurricanes are hurricanes, and when it's a natural disaster, it doesn't matter what you name it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what the name is. Just if it affects you, you remember the name. Yeah. And if it doesn't, it doesn't.
Well, that's anything in life.
And there's 90% of people respect the fact, hey, I got to get out of here. Mm-hmm. There are certain people that are either too dumb to leave or too stubborn to leave, and you're never going to change that group. But there's always going to be a segment of them that won't leave. Mm-hmm. That's why there's rescuers, because they got to go back and get those people.
Yeah. So why you have the Redneck Navy?
It's the Bayou Navy or something. Yeah, it is the Redneck. Yeah. It's a group of, they did a phenomenal job in Harvey of going in and rescuing people that had been stranded in Harvey. All right. In other news that is sure to get us in trouble, and we've waited as long as we're going to wait to talk about this news. Mark Zuckerberg has apologized for censoring news. Does anybody believe?
Too little, too late.
I'm 100. Cajun Navy. Thank you. I personally know that there was censorship going on because we were doing shows. We had shift from radio to social media, and Facebook was one of the platforms we used. And if there were words we mentioned during the show was suppressed. I can tell you that for a fact. I know we're not million viewer show or anything like that. But whenever you could count the number of people in the comments, and you could count the number of people who's telling you were watching, and there was more in the comments than that would tell you were watching, was really simple to know that there's suppression going on, right? And we're a very small platform kind of show. We had shows that I thought were very informative. We had information that was coming from our own hospital that if we mentioned that in the few minutes of the broadcast, you could tell the numbers were going down. So to me, that's a disservice. We were trying to provide information to people to help them make decisions and let them know what was going on in real time.
And we would also get messages from people saying they couldn't find the show. People that watch us every single day, and then suddenly they couldn't find the show. It wouldn't show up on their feed. Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, not just that, but also the laptop.
Yeah.
Right, which is very, the Department of Justice had enough time to tell social media this might be fake, but they didn't have enough time to go investigate something that they knew was real.
Well, that's the thing. They knew it was real. They didn't even have to investigate it. They already knew about it. They knew it was real. They had verified it, but they told everybody it was fake.
Yeah. And there were people that said, hey, had I known that, I might have voted differently. So
a large number
of people said, I believe that. what social media did is it taught when it did all this in 21 and 22, and of 20 leading into the election, it taught people there's no difference between social media and regular media.
Yep.
There's a bias there. There's people that use their bias to control it and to send out what messages are. So all they did was kind of open people's eyes. It could have turned an election. It obviously took information that might or might not have helped people during early 2021 in dealing with COVID. And it suppressed all that. And it did it for political reasons. And that was 100% wrong. And if this platform that we have been on a while continues that, there's other places to go. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of places else to go. So I hope the algorithm heard that.
Yep.
Tomorrow we'll say it earlier in the algorithm. So, but
at this point, it might be fun for all of y'all to find this app, Rumble. Mm-hmm. We have had our shows on Rumble for over a year now. We're not live on Rumble yet, but we will be soon. So yeah, we have our archive of episodes all on Rumble, and you can chat when we're live on Rumble once we get that live feature. So we would love to start seeing you guys move over to Rumble.
Yeah, we're not for censorship. So I can just tell you that right now, and it's been a pain to deal with for a while. Mm-hmm. And so the opportunity to make that jump would be awesome. So those of you that are out there are long-term listeners, especially Barbara Jean with a question mark, just go look in your app store for Rumble and download it. And we're there. And if we go there, we have a little thing called freedom. We can say what we want to say.
So you have to dig down into the search results to find the story. But 1 in 6 Biden voters said in November, the end of November 2020, 1 in 6 Biden voters said they would have changed their minds about who they were going to vote for if they had known that the Hunter Biden laptop story was true. 1 in 6 Joe Biden voters said that they would have changed their vote. Yes. And that was within the month of the election when that poll was taken and those people said that.
Yeah. No, it's election.
That's election interference.
It's election interference. I believe that's a term I may or may not have heard on the news once or twice. We ought to charge somebody with that just to see where it goes in the courts, just out of curiosity. Mm-hmm. Maybe somebody that ran for office. Maybe we can do it that way to just as a test case.
That'd be great.
See how that works out. Possibly.
Maybe a little bit.
Yes. And the other reason I have now canceled my, of all the things that I have said online about hashtag not my royals, I have canceled any plans to go to the British Isles.
All right.
I'm out.
Because you had a trip planned, right? Did you have plane tickets?
Scotland is still on the maybe list.
Yeah.
And I'm a little nervous. I'm going to have to go scrub my history. Again, we're not a famous platform, but if you have a famous platform or you're a famous person, some of them have been threatened if they say the wrong thing, that if they land in the British Isles, they will be arrested.
So the Scots are not fans of the Brits. They are not, but they are also not fans of free speech. They are shockingly authoritarian when it comes to limiting people's ability to speak freely. It is not William Wallace's Braveheart Scotland fighting for the rights of the average person, for sure. 2,000
years of suppression does have a way of impacting everyday decisions.
It does.
Which is why we're not a part of the British Empire.
It is not.
We wrote them a great breakup line. In fact, I think I'm going to carry the Declaration of Independence with me in my pocket when I travel. And they say, Sergeant,
you're definitely getting arrested.
I brought this to you people.
You're gonna. What's the character?
In case you haven't read it before.
What's the character from?
Look, I'm just gonna look at him and go, don't make me get serious, because I can raise money to get Meghan Markle sent back here. Do not get me started. I will send her back, and I will make sure she follows Prince Charles around.
Yeah. Oh man.
I can play dirty too.
Yeah, good luck with that. Ron Swanson? You're going to Ron Swanson?
I'm going to Ron Swanson the moment. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to send him the one thing they don't want. I'll send Harry back over there.
It's not Harry. I think they would love to have Harry. It's Meghan Markle. They don't want Meghan Markle.
I don't think they want Harry either.
I think they'd take Harry.
I don't think they want.
If he came alone.
I think he has burned every bridge there is to be. I think at this point he would like to go. They've run some stories about how America hasn't turned out the way they wanted it to.
Yeah.
And I think those are like trial balloons back to the royal family of, hey, is there any way we can come back? And they're not getting any reply back.
Yeah. Well, so when his dad had the cancer diagnosis initially, I believe there was some talks when Prince Philip passed away and he came back for the funeral. There was some murmurings about maybe some reconciliation. But then his memoir dropped, and then the documentary or series or whatever came out. And so at that point, my understanding is Prince William is like, nope, we out. And so Charles would like to reconcile. And I've even heard recently that Kate Middleton would support a reconciliation, but Prince William is saying, nope, we're not going to do that.
It's almost as if he's treating him like he's not his kid.
It's almost as if he's treating him like he is the spare and he's not needed because he's in the position. So he spoke that into reality. He definitely manifested that.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you a British royal family fan?
No, I'm not, but I am a lord in Scotland.
Are you really?
I am.
Oh, you
I'm a
bought property?
Scottish lord. My girlfriend's sister bought me property a few years back, and it came with all this legal paperwork where
Yes.
I can change my name legally, and I am in the process of doing that. For a couple of reasons. I travel overseas a lot, and apparently I didn't know this, but if you have lordship, you are more inclined to be treated like royalty by the British Airlines.
You might want to Google that because those services were busted as being a Chinese scam. So
Were
you
they?
might want to Google the service that she bought it through.
Oh no. I know that mine's good for real because I get reached out to by the family that owns the land.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a 10x10 plot with a tree.
Okay.
And they send me pictures of it. They send me updates on my
It's your
tree.
Scottish baby.
Yep. They tell me I should bring my family there to have picnics and
Yeah.
send photos
All right.
and all kinds of stuff. So
Nice.
I've got a question. This is of Scotland and not Nigeria.
this is Scotland.
Okay.
Yes.
Just
You can look it up.
So there was,
I'm Lord Levi of Blairdam, Scotland.
There was a company that was selling like Kamikoto knives, and they were claiming that they were Japanese knives with high quality steel. And was revealed that it was just this Chinese company that was, had this really great marketing that they were this other company, but they weren't. And the product itself was just like cheaply made Chinese knives. But it was discovered that they were doing the same thing with the lord and ladyship things. So if you're actually getting communication with people in Scotland, then maybe yours is legit, but a lot of them were not.
So Darcy's family is from Scotland, the McKinnons, and they supported Bonnie Prince Charles during the revolution. So they were encouraged to leave.
Yeah.
That's how they got to Canada and eventually to the United States.
I have an ancestor that was of Scottish royalty. He wasn't like a prince, but he was one of the higher caste levels. I don't know how it works. He was captured in one of the battles, and he was impressed into slavery, forced servants with jobs or prisoners with jobs position in the Caribbean. And once he distinguished himself in that, and he did earn his freedom from the person that was impressing him into forced labor. And he ultimately settled in the DC area, and he founded that as New Scotland. And so there's a monument still in the DC area. George Washington, or Georgetown, that whole area is built on my ancestors' property. And there's an Episcopal church that still has a plaque there for him. And gifts from him are still used for communion in that service.
Last name?
Beale. Ninian. Well, it's Bealle. So I pronounce it Beale. It might be Bell, but Ninian Bell. That's my ancestor.
Cool. All right.
Tall redhead.
So you learned a lot today.
Yep.
We learned about Anastasia Island. We learned about...
so fast.
We learned do not wear all black on a hike. If you do, you will get left behind by 15 coworkers.
Buddy system.
Leaving a pin for your coworkers who've already left you behind is probably a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta wonder what work was like the next day.
In emergency situations, always go voice to voice. Never trust a text. Always go voice to voice communication.
911.
Yeah. Regardless of whether that hurricane's named after a female or a male, always voice to voice in emergency.
911 all the time. All right, this is the Mike Davis Show. We will be back tomorrow. The Bollocks boys are coming in for trivia, and we may or may not do some sports tomorrow. We're going to try to figure that out as well. Tune in tomorrow morning for the morning show, where you hear all kinds of amazing news about the day from the greatest cast, except for the afternoon show, that's on after them sometime tomorrow.
The afternoon show's amazing. Stop it. Everyone have fun.
I did say that. Goodbye.